Members of Parliament, support staff, all those in the public tribune, those following this meeting by radio, TV, social media, as well as members of the media, good morning. I want to welcome you to this public meeting for today, Wednesday, March 27th. This is public meeting number 14. I want to give a special word of welcome to the caretaker Council of Ministers and the ministers here present. We have, as part of the Council of Ministers here present, the Prime Minister, Minister of General Affairs. We have the Minister of Finance, Minister of Justice, Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports. We have the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, and we also have with us the respective staff of these ministers. We have been informed that of the absence of Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, Mr. Egbert Duran. We have established a quorum of 12 members, in fact 13 since I started, and I invite you to stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. As part of the notifications, I want to mention the letter that was sent to members of Parliament this morning regarding the introduction of the usage of interruptions during public meetings. Allow me to elucidate a little further on this matter. As you know, Article 43 of our Rules of Order states that the President may permit interruptions and that these must consist of brief remarks or questions without introduction. In practice, an interruption occurs when a speaker is interrupted by a member of Parliament who has a question or a comment. This question or comment, however, should be short, concise, relevant to the topic, and without an introduction to the question or comment. The interruption should actually seek to bring clarity, challenge assertions made, or contribute additional information to the debate. There are 4 basic overall principles for the usage of interruptions. To mention these: permission-based interruptions. Interruptions should require prior permission from the chairperson. This ensures that interruptions are controlled and contribute meaningfully to the debate. There's also a limit on interruptions. A maximum limit on interruptions per member for each agenda item should be established. These are general guidelines. I'll get to those of our Parliament in a moment. This will prevent excessive interruptions and encourage concise contributions. Enforcement of decorum. According to the Rules of Order, it is at the discretion of the chairperson to allow interruptions and, with that, to ensure order and decorum during debates. Offensive or disorderly interruptions should be promptly addressed to maintain parliamentary decorum. Speakers must also adhere to the Parliamentary Code of Conduct by not actively making offensive or disorderly interruptions. Clear guidelines should be established regarding the nature and purpose of interruptions. Interruptions should aim to seek clarification, challenge assertions, or contribute additional information, as mentioned earlier. So, as of today, Wednesday, March 27, 2024, I will, based on the Rules of Order, allow interruptions during public meetings of Parliament. And the following guide will apply. 1, the chairperson may permit interruptions in accordance with the Rules of Order. These interruptions should aim to seek clarification, challenge assertions, or contribute additional information, and should consist of brief remarks or questions without an introduction. The chairperson will ensure order and decorum during the meetings and the use of interruptions. The initiative to commence with interruptions in the public meetings of Parliament also had to do with streamlining another possibility in our rules of order, and that is the opportunity given to members of Parliament to make a point of proposal. Oftentimes you hear members of Parliament refer to a point of order as a way to actually make an interruption. Our rules of order do not allow for a point of order as such. Point of proposal actually is one that a member can make a proposal with respect to the topic under handling, so the topic that is being handled. So we will follow that trajectory where a point of proposal is concerned, and to replace the usage of the point of order as an interruption, we will use the right for an interruption. So we're going to start today. The intention, as mentioned earlier, is that the interruptions will be to be posed from the lectern. We have it placed here in the Legislative Hall. So a member wishing to make an interruption during another member or person's presentation or speech will go to the lectern, and from there the chair will grant permission for that person based on those standing at the lectern to make an interruption. So with that, members, does anyone else have a notification? We have MP Christophe Emmanuel. MP Christophe Emmanuel, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning to you. Good morning to the Honorable Council of Ministers and my colleagues. Madam Chair, I have a few notifications. The first one is I want to send out condolences to the former Minister of Education, Dr. Rhoda Arundel, on the passing of her mom. So, you know, we say condolences for that. And also, Madam Chair, another member of Parliament that graced his presence here, I want to say congratulations to him too as well on his mom being 100 years, which is Dr. Lloyd Richardson. His mom made 100 years, and we are saying congratulations to him and his whole entire family. In addition to that, Madam Chair, I wanted to ask, when it comes specifically, Madam Chair, to the point that we use in our debates when it comes to clarification. Because most oftentimes what I realize happens, Madam Chair, is when a question is asked and it's not answered, even from the chair it says that then why don't you repost or ask the question back in clarification. In the public meeting, Madam Chair, when you do that, then you lose your turn to ask the relevant questions or statements or inquiries you want in clarifications. For example, no, I'm not picking on anyone, I'm just using it as an example, Madam Chair, when we had the GB issue came up with the questions, Madam Chair, and if you come and you say that GB records, GB accounts are in good standing, that's the statement that is being made from the minister or a specific minister. When the member of Parliament says, well, how can that be the case when A, B, C is in deficit and this is the case? Then what you hear is corporate governance this and corporate governance that. I would like to know, Madam Chair, where does corporate governance come into play? It comes into play only when members of Parliament bring questions and asks based on facts, or it comes into play only when the Council of Ministers say we can't answer because of corporate governance. Madam Chair, I would want to believe that a responsibility also comes from the Council of Ministers to speak the truth and also to bring the facts. I thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Christophe Emmanuel, for those notifications, and due note is taken of your sort of question, comment regarding the point of clarification. So I will get back to that particular item in its entirety. And I now invite MP Grisha Heiliger Martin to take the floor on notifications. MP Heiliger.
Good morning to you, Madam Chair Lady. Good morning to my fellow colleagues. Good morning to all the ministers present and those in the tribune and those listening and viewing online and on the radio. I too would like to wish two family members that lost their moms, Arundel, the Rhoda, Mano, and Clevie. On the passing of your mom, Miss Janet. Heartfelt condolences to you on behalf of the Democratic Party, and also our heartfelt condolences to Frinche and Bulo, who lost their mom, Helena, as well, on behalf of the Democratic Party. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you very much for those notifications, MP Heiliger. And not having any other notifications, we can go over to the agenda points for this public meeting. We have two agenda points for this public meeting. The first one being incoming documents, and the second one being the national ordinance stipulating the budget of the country for the year 2024. The National Ordinance Budget 2024, as it is called. This document is registered under IS 487 of this parliamentary year, and it's dated March 7th, 2024. And the parliamentary year number of this document on the national ordinances is 175. Going over to agenda point number 1, all members have received the list of incoming documents and the proposal how to handle these incoming documents. The IS numbers for these items on the list of incoming documents are 433 through 512 of the parliamentary year 2023-2024. Are there any comments on the list of incoming documents and the proposal to handle these documents as put on the list? Any need for that? There does not seem to be the case for that. So the list of incoming documents and the proposal to handle these is hereby approved. Before going over to the agenda point number 2, I will adjourn this meeting until 11 o'clock for the simple reason to get some technical issues dealt with. Has to do with the presentations of the ministers and getting those uploaded based on the format that they have been booked in under, or received under rather. So, members of parliament, I'm going to adjourn this meeting for about 18 minutes, and that's until 11 a.m. Meeting adjourned. Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this public meeting of Parliament for today, March 27th. At the beginning of the meeting, which consists of 2 agenda points, we handled the incoming documents and the list of these documents for the proposed handling of these documents. That point was dealt with. We had a brief adjournment to get some technical matters straightened out, and now we go over to agenda point number 2. Parliament has received the national ordinance stipulating the budget of the country for the year 2024 on March 7th. All members have received a copy of the draft national ordinance in hard copy, digital link, via email, and via Teams. It is important to note for the general public that the draft budget 2024 is also available on the website of Parliament, www.sxmparliament.org. On this topic of the budget, a Central Committee meeting was held on March 19th and 20th, in which the members of Parliament posed their questions and the ministers answered these questions. A report has been made on the deliberations in the Central Committee and was sent to the government as well as to the members. The government has answered this report with a so-called nota naar aanleiding van het verslag. Translated freely, the note following the final report, and this is booked in on the IS number 544 of this parliamentary year and is dated March 27th. On March 27th, Parliament also received a memorandum of modification from the government, nota van wijziging, registered on the IS 545, and a second memorandum of modification registered under IS 546. So these are notas van wijziging received from the government, meaning the government has proposed a change to their draft budget. 2 changes. In fact, we have also learned that there is a third nota van wijziging, a third proposal from the government to amend its draft budget as submitted to Parliament. Members of Parliament, all of these documents have been shared with you. And so today, in the public meeting handling the draft budget 2024, all ministers will give a brief presentation concerning their ministry. When the ministers are finished with their presentation, the members of Parliament will have the floor to pose their questions on the budget. After this, ministers will answer the questions posed by the members of Parliament, and it is important to note that for the budget debate, the speaking time for members of Parliament is set at 90 minutes in the first round and 45 minutes in the second round. This is customary, what is done for the budget handling. I want to make some general remarks, and that is that we will have a lunch break from 1:30 through 2:30. And during that time, lunch will be served here at Parliament, and we will also have, as is customary, a so-called supper break at approximately 6 p.m. That break is only going to be for half an hour, and then we will resume the meeting, and we have established that we will try not to go beyond 9 o'clock every evening. By that time, after having been in the meetings from 10 o'clock, we believe that it's better to continue the following day. So, of course, if we are nearing the end of the budget and we have to go on beyond 9 p.m., we will do so. So, I mentioned regarding the interruptions, I hope that that is clear as to how we would proceed, and let me just go over the points briefly, just in case. So it's based on our rules of order. The chairperson may permit interruptions, and the interruptions should aim to seek clarifications, challenge assertions, or contribute additional information, and should consist of very brief remarks or questions. These remarks or questions are not to be preceded by any comments or remarks. We need to ensure that there is proper decorum here in Parliament at all times, especially when using interruptions. And this goes for all present in the meeting, ministers, guests. We all will contribute to keeping the standards of Parliament on a high level. Just to mention that every member for every agenda point, and the budget is one agenda point, will be allowed 3 interruptions. That's per member, per agenda point, and you will go to the lectern before us here, and I will give you an indication that you have the opportunity to make your interruption. So, with that being said, I now give the floor to the Minister of Finance, Minister Irian, to give introductory remarks and make a general presentation on the budget. Minister Irian, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning to the Kafir. Good morning to the members of Parliament. Good morning to my colleague ministers. Good morning to the viewing public. Chair, I will go straight into the presentation. Today we are presenting the 2024 draft national budget of Sint Maarten. This draft national ordinance budget 2024 reflects the financial position, prospects, and policy intentions of country Sint Maarten for the year 2024. The presentation, which will be provided by me, will address both budget 2024 as a whole and also pertaining to specifically the Ministry of Finance. After my presentation is completed, the other ministers will give insight into their specific budgets for their ministries. In my presentation of the revised budget for 2023, which was approved in December 2023, I provided insight into the reasons behind the budget delay. However, given the presence of several new members of Parliament, as I mentioned before, I will briefly summarize those reasons once more. The budget for 2023 was initially approved on March 31st, 2023. However, CFT in their Article 12 requested that the budget be amended, particularly regarding the multi-year aspect of it. This forced adjustment and the passage of time resulted in further modifications to the budget factors. Factors contributing to the delay included discussions on the loan for refinancing, which were tied to the ENIA discussion. Incorporating calculations regarding changes in adjusted function into the multi-year budget for 2023, and updating the budget based on the actual data from the Q1 and the Q2 reports. The adjustments to the 2023 halted and delayed the process of completing the 2024 budget. The team has been working very hard to improve the budgets of the country and also to improve the multi-year projections, which were absent from previous budgets. Reflecting on the year 2023, based on the unaudited actuals, we note that the revenue aligns with the budget. However, the actual expenses are lower than the budget expenses, which results in an even higher result than was anticipated for the year 2023. I want to express my sincere gratitude to the finance team for their tireless efforts in striving to complete the budget 2024 on time. Although we didn't quite achieve our goal, I deeply appreciate the hard work that went into it. It was mutually agreed with the CFT not to seek Article 11 advice for the 2024 budget, as it is not a requirement to ensure timed completion by December 2023. We actually submitted the 2024 budget to the Council of Ministers, approved on November 17, 2023, and received their feedback on December 15th, to the Council of Vice, on December 15, 2023. However, due to the Christmas vacation and elections, there was a delay in incorporating the Council of Advice feedback and updating the budget accordingly. There was some discussion about whether the new Council of Ministers should present the 2024 budget. However, considering the time that has passed, it was decided to proceed with the current version of the 2024 budget. Therefore, I am here today to present to you the draft 2024 budget. In this presentation, I will cover the following topics: the vision and mission of the Ministry of Finance, along with key highlights for the year 2023. I'll provide an overview of the figures, starting with a comparison between the budget 2024 and the budget 2023, and the actual figures for the years 2023 and 2022. Please note that the actual figures for the years are unaudited and sourced from the Q4 report, which has been shared with the Parliament, along with the approved annual report for 2022. Following this high-level comparison, I will delve into a more detailed analysis. After comparing the budget for 2024, I will summarize the main factors contributing to the expense increase in this budget. I will offer insight into the policy priorities of the Ministry of Finance for the year 2024 and touch on key values upheld by the Ministry. Lastly, I will conclude the presentation by highlighting other important factors influencing the budget for 2024. The Ministry of Finance has the following vision and mission. These are the key prioritization of our policies for the year and the decisions made. During the remainder of the presentation, there are many topics, especially in the highlights for the year 2023, which can directly be linked to a specific mission of the Ministry of Finance. The vision: the Ministry of Finance strives to execute macroeconomic fiscal policies and initiatives that aid in the expansion and diversification of Sint Maarten's economy, provide fiscal sustainability, and to be the catalyst for innovation regarding the government operations. The mission: efficiently oversee the country's finances by adopting new methods and technology to improve, standardize, and streamline and automate processes. Provide accountable advice to government in the policy areas and execute it by providing the public with accurate, relevant information and exceptional service. The Ministry is focused on lifelong learning for its staff and the public to empower persons to reach their full potential. Some highlights for 2023 would be some key accomplishments. One of our significant achievements was securing the 90 million guilders for essential investments in both the government apparatus and Sint Maarten as a whole. Despite having plans and aspirations, without funds, they remain just that, plans. Since 2014, Sint Maarten hadn't received approval for capital expenditure. While we did receive funding after earmark from the trust fund for major projects, accessing and using these funds for small projects proved more complex than anticipated. Of the 90 million guilders, 60 million guilders came from a loan officially transferred to our accounts in November 2023, and 30 million were approved of grants from the Netherlands via the TWO. This was only possible through extensive preparation work demonstrating our commitment to key projects. The process to secure the loan involved resolving financial backlogs, improving budget quality, and extensive discussions with the CFT. Now that the funds are available, it's time for us to continue to execute. Another noteworthy achievement is the refinancing of the COVID loans, which was tied to the annual solution. We secured the most favorable interest rate at that time possible at 3.4%. Another highlight was our initiative of a pilot project of a 32-hour work week. This move aimed to promote a better work-life balance for employees, aligning with our mission to prioritize lifelong learning for our staff and empower individuals to reach their full potential. I cannot stress the importance of updating our government apparatus with a new tax and financial system. In 2023, significant progress was made on both fronts. We initiated the tender process for the tax system and selected a preferred supplier based on the results. We aim to finalize the contract negotiations with the winning supplier to begin the process of replacing the old tax system with the new one. Regarding the financial system, we've made even greater strides. The current plan focuses on Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 commenced in January 2024 and is expected to last approximately 12 months. The primary objective is to document and validate the main financial processes, establish a robust control framework, and implement Microsoft D365 finance operations by the 1st of January 2025 at the latest. Phase 2 will begin in January 2025 and will also last about similar 12 months. concluding on December 31st, 2025. The main goal of Phase 2 is to configure and fully implement the 5 main financial processes, including payroll, purchase to pay, orders to cash, and subsidies, and budgeting. Additionally, a comprehensive process control framework for these main financial processes should be in place by the end of Phase 2. Completion of Phase 1 and 2 of establishing legislation in accordance with Article 47, Paragraph 6 of the Accountability Ordinance has taken place, which included an extensive research document based firstly on the previous work executed by a government committee to establish the legislation. Since the government committee was established years ago, there was a need to revisit what was done in the past. Consequently, Phase 2 to finalize a full legislative package based on the following philosophy are slated to begin: clear and simple rules, lowest possible administrative burden, flexibility. The procurement rules must be easy to build on and expand upon in the future. The guiding principles of this philosophy are based on integrity, accountability, equal treatment of suppliers, and transparency. I'll now delve into the analysis of the budget figures for the year 2024. The high-level analysis of forecasted revenue and expenses for budget 2024. On the upcoming sheets, I've analyzed the revenue and expenses comparing the budgeted figures for 2024 with those from 2023. The current Q4 financials for 2023 and the figures from the annual report for 2022. Initially, I will offer a visual comparison of the figures, then I will provide a detailed explanation of the main reasons behind the increases in both the revenues and expenses. The revenue and expenses comparison. On this sheet, an overview is provided on the revenue and expenses for various periods with figures in the millions. The budgeted figures for 2024 are displayed on the left, followed by the current actuals as reported in Q4 for 2023. Then the budgeted figures for 2023, and finally the actuals from the financial statements for 2022, which is shown to the right. For the budget 2024, we anticipate revenue of 575 million guilders and expenses of 573 million guilders. Upon reviewing this sheet, it's evident that our expenses and revenue for the various periods are closely aligned. In 2022, expenses slightly exceeded revenue, resulting in a slight negative result of -5 million. For the budget 2023, we anticipated a slight positive result of 1 million, which based on the actuals, we expect to be much more positive than budgeted, primarily due to the lower actual expenses than anticipated. In 2024, we estimate a positive result of 2 million guilders. It is important to note that the figures for 2024 are slightly inflated due to inclusion of funds received primarily from the TBO, which are included on the budget revenue and expenses side of the budget. In the previous periods, there were issues with receiving and using these funds because if they were not included in the budget, as such, we could not make use of them. To prevent this issue, we made sure to include as much of these in the budget. In this slide, we focus on the revenue, with tax revenue comprising 80% of the total revenue of the country. In 2023, tax revenue increased by 18% or 63 million guilders compared to 2022. For 2024, we estimate a further increase of 11% or 45 million guilders to 2023. This increase in taxes is partly attributed to economic growth, with GDP expanding by 7% in 2023 and expected to grow by 6% in 2024. We believe that increases in taxes is partially due to economic growth and partly due to the collection efforts undertaken by the tax department. Specific project teams were assigned to focus on improving tax collection. Additionally, we anticipate the implementation of the new tax system will further enhance tax collection by simplifying the processes. As we examine the details of tax revenue further, it's evident that the two primary revenue generators are payroll tax and turnover tax. In 2024, we have increased the projected revenue for these taxes in line with expected economic growth. Additionally, we have included an expected revenue of $9 million from the tourist tax in the budget for 2024. It is anticipated that this tourist tax will be implemented by the mid-year. The introduction of this tax will help with the reduction of other taxes, thereby alleviating the burden of our citizens and business community as included in the tax reform initiative. The expenses detail slide. Now we'll examine the expenses in more detail. For expense categories, personnel, goods and services, social services, and grants and subsidies account for 95% of total expenses. In 2024, the major increases are primarily in the personnel expenses, goods and services, and grants and subsidies. The expenses for social services remain aligned with prior years, as you can see in the slides. The summary increase in revenue. This slide summarizes the main revenue increase. Total revenue has increased by $58 million compared to the budget for 2023. Of this increase, $31 million is attributed to higher taxes, with the turnover tax and payroll tax increases based on actuals and expected economic growth. The $9 million increase in tourist tax is revenue based on the law coming into effect and implementation by mid-year. The remaining revenue increase is due to the inclusion of the sales of the many shares expected to generate minimum 30 million guilders, and funds to be received for projects, including the Terio projects totaling 7 million guilders. On this side, we discuss the summary increase in expenses. This slide outlines the main increases in expenses for the year 2024, which amount to a total of 56 million guilders compared to the budget 2023. The primary increases are as follows. One, interest expenses have increased by 13 million guilders. This is mainly due to the refinancing of COVID loans in November, which were previously at 0% and now at 3% annually. Sint Maarten secured the most favorable interest rate compared to the other islands. Discussions on further refinancing details will continue throughout the year with a deadline set for September 2024. Subsidies have increased by 12 million guilders compared to the budget 2023. This is mainly a result of actual expenses based on the new funding system calculation for school subsidies. Accordingly, the budget has been adjusted to reflect these actual costs. Lastly, the major increase in the budgeted expenses for the year 2024 is the rise in personnel expense, amounting to 27 million guilders. Of this increase, 10 million is allocated for the much deserved and necessary indexation of the civil servant salaries, set at 2% for 2024. This adjustment also considers step increases where applicable and reflects payroll adjustments due to the updated function book of the justice workers. Civil servants' salaries have not been indexed since 2012, so we have included a 2% indexation for 2024 and have also incorporated a 2% indexation in the multi-year aspect of the budget, ensuring all salary indexations in the coming years. Additionally, a $2 million increase is attributed to adjusted vacation pay from 6% to 7% for the year 2024. We've also included an additional 1% increase in the multi-year budget for 2025, ensuring civil servants receive 8% vacation pay annually starting in the year 2025. Furthermore, those OZR expenses have increased by $4 million based on actuals, and the social premium expenses have increased by $5 million due to an increase in salary-related expenses. The Ministry of Finance Policy 2024. For the year 2024, the Ministry of Finance will prioritize the following policies: increase efficiency and effectiveness of the tax authorities by levying and collection process, simplifying the tax system, improve coordination of the government budget with the needs and well-being of the residents of Sint Maarten, a more realistic and well-substantiated budget that meets policy goals and NFTA standards, improve accountability of public finances, guaranteeing the quality of the financial organization is at the desired level and the government carries out its supervisory tasks properly, and improving fiscal policy. Many of these policies have already been initiated in previous years, and the Ministry remains committed to prioritizing and advancing them. Key initiatives such as implementing the new tax and financial system, providing training to civil servants, undertaking tax reform, addressing financial backlog issues, and enhancing budget quality will be pivotal in achieving these objectives. Other important matters, investment included in the, investments. In the 2024 budget, the 90 million guilders investments for 2023 budget have been carried over. Although funding has been secured for these investments, they must be included in the budget for the current year to be executed. Additionally, an extra 140 million guilders has been allocated for investments to be carried out in 2024. The top 5 new investments included in the budget 2024 are Phase 2 of the prison, the wastewater project, KB, the purchase of land, and the road repair project. And last but not least, the new building for the Met Office. I anticipate that the ministers will provide specific details on these projects. The sales of the Winier shares. In 2023, the Council of Ministers gave its approval to initiate the process of exploring the potential sale of Winier shares and highlighted that the proposed purchase of the majority of government shares in Winier aligns with the government's strategic goals and will provide a significant boost to the airline's operational capabilities. The issuing of new shares to bolster Winier's capitalization is of keen interest, and this would stimulate the airline's financial position and pave the way for the future growth and sustainability. This will bring new opportunities for the current shareholder, namely immediate funds. The sales of shares provide immediate funds for the government of Sint Maarten addressing financial obligations, a revenue boost, a prosperous Winier boost government's revenues through taxes and contributions, providing an annual benefit, shareholder dividend, the mandated dividend policy requiring the distribution of percentage of Winier shares, free cash flow, ensures that all shareholders benefit from a cash return on their equity, and equity growth. The anticipated increase in Winier's equity value benefits all shareholders contingent on a successful growth strategy execution. Other benefits include economic growth. Further expansion stimulates economic growth, creating jobs across various sectors, from pilots, flight attendants, to maintenance, customer service, and ramp and administrative staff. Increased resilience. Shareholders with robust financial resources can provide support during natural disasters or another crisis, ensuring the airline's stability and continuity. Winier's performance over time makes it the optimum time to sell shares. From 2011 till 2021, Winier has shown a volatility in its performance influenced by external factors such as Hurricanes Irma and Maria, as well as COVID-19 pandemic. Despite challenges, the company has witnessed a positive performance in the last 2 years, namely 2022 and 2023, showcasing a general uptrend in the shareholders' equity. In 2023, Winier fully repaid the 4.5 million loan it received from the Netherlands during the COVID-19 pandemic. Notably, 2024 is anticipated to mark the first year of positive shareholder equity since 10-10-10. By being able to manage and increase its performance, Winier has pinpointed the following directions, setting initiative for the future. Improve the returns on the Twin Otter aircraft by purchasing 2 aircraft instead of leasing them. Expand service to broader Caribbean by increasing the ATR fleet and routes, which is expected to contribute $500,000 per year. Venture into ground handling business by commercializing Winier's ground handling concession. and achieving these objectives depends on generating steady organic growth and obtaining additional funds, which will be facilitated by the capitalization of Minier. Madam Chair, thank you for listening to the members of Parliament, and I'm pleased to see our economy improving, which has a positive impact on our budgets and finances. Again, I would like to thank the staff of the Ministry of Finance for their efforts, and I look forward to any additional questions you may have pertaining to the Budget 2024.
Thank you, Minister Irion, for your presentation on the draft budget 2024 in this public meeting of Parliament. And I now give the floor to the Minister of Justice, Mrs. Anna Richardson, to make her presentation on her budget, on her ministry's budget during this meeting. Minister of Justice, you have the floor. You're looking for the pointer and... oh, okay. Minister Richardson, you may continue.
Pleasant good morning, Madam Chair Lady, members of Parliament, Secretary Generals, colleague ministers, support staff, the listening and viewing public, and of course, as always, I like to say blessings and good day to all senior citizens. In my presentation for this parliamentary session discussing the 2024 draft budget, I will delve into the following areas: 2023 in retrospect per department, focal points for 2024, and our priorities where some legislations for 2024 are concerned. Beginning with my cabinet, two significant highlights for the ministry's cabinet included the second annual conference on counterfeiting and intellectual property protection. This conference is dedicated to combating counterfeiting, ensuring consumers' safety, and safeguarding the profits and reputations of brands. It underscores the pressing requirements for robust anti-counterfeiting strategies and policy measures, emphasizing the importance of raising awareness and steering Sint Maarten away from illicit trade. The conference provides a forum to enlighten stakeholders and advocates for the purchase of authentic products, thereby ensuring the protection of brands and communities alike. The conference attracted participants from prominent luxury brands like scholars, law enforcement authorities, the industry influencers from across the globe. Distinguished names in attendance encompassed renowned brands such as Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Nike, Puma, and Moet and Hennessy. These collaborative endeavors in partnership with De Souza are in line with sustainable development objectives, Prime Minister, prioritizing public welfare, fostering industry advancement, and upholding justice. Secondly, the Memorandum of Understanding, or the MOU, signed between the Ministries of Justice, Sint Maarten and Curaçao, in collaboration with Law Enforcement and Security Training Institute, or the ORV. It is aimed at reinstating the well-organized learning and training framework for justice personnel. The initiative seeks to address the absence of such an institution in Sint Maarten and its detrimental effects on staff's certification, highlighting the crucial need for governmental recognition in this regard. The Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, cements a joint endeavor to furnish timely and well-structured education and training. It is a crucial component that encompasses a 3-year duration with potential extension, structural partnership for evaluation and curriculum design, as well as directives for the establishment of the Law Enforcement Institute of Sint Maarten, or the LEIS, and an interim program for prompt educational provisions. Responsibilities involve securing essential approvals, furnishing documentation, and prioritizing tasks for program implementation. I implore the incoming administration to endorse the ongoing endeavors with the ORV in Curaçao to attain this objective. Shifting focus a little bit to the highlights as it relates to the Department of Staff Bureau for 2023. The recruitment process for the Secretary General, or SG, through the services of SORB began in 2023 and was successfully concluded in 2024, resulting in the identification and placement of the ministry's first ever official SG. This milestone addressed a long-standing void that had been highlighted by supervisory bodies such as the Law Enforcement Council and the Progress Committee and others, who had consistently emphasized the urgency of filling the critical position for the Minister of Justice. Or for the Ministry of Justice, sorry. Judicial Affairs Department was able to achieve the following: the ankle bracelet monitoring policy and the successful recruitment of 2 legal policy officers and 1 support officer. The police force of Sint Maarten for 2023 highlights the expansion of the CCTV, securing ICT systems, organizing an analysis congress and various trainings, training sessions for BPZ and the detective department, including those for community police officers. The Point Blanche Prison and House of Detention highlights the following for 2023. Designing and procurement of the new prison project with UNOPS. As we are aware, the ministry is in the process of building a new prison together with the assistance of the Netherlands and UNOPS. Moving on, Madam Chair Lady, through you, I'd like to give highlights with regards to the Immigration and Border Protection Services. They'd like to highlight the initiation of the recruitment process for the Director of IBP, and this has successfully been concluded after experiencing instability for many years with acting department heads. However, we do appreciate those who held this position and did their best. We are pleased that Mr. Justin Levinstone has assumed this leadership position, spearheading the IBP team. Next to IBP is the Customs Department with the enforcement of customs legislations. Also with IBP, we are proud of the implementation of the RADEX system, which brought a much needed closure to the mishaps that were being experienced before with border management, or the border management system. We move on through you, Madam Chair Lady, to the Financial Intelligence Unit, or FIU, also known as MART. Their highlights for 2023: carrying out the National Risk Assessment, preparations for the mutual evaluation of FIU of the Kingdom Conference, project preparations for CFATF mutual evaluation, which will be held in September of this year, preparing the draft anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing, or AML, and CFT laws. All these acronyms. I now move on through you, Madam Chair Lady, to the focus points for the Ministry of Justice for 2024. We begin with the Staff Bureau. The Staff Bureau is focusing on the completion of employee placement process, or the LBAs, of phase 1. Just this morning, we did have the successful signing of another batch of 25. This is batch 3. Batch 4 is also moving through the chains so that we will get that to His Excellency within short. Congratulations once again to all justice personnel who has to date received their LBAs, and we continue to push as much as we can to see that others will receive those in an expeditious manner. Implementation of the enhanced financial management guidelines regarding the administration of the crime fund, improve work processes and overall compliance with accountability ordinance, improved budgeting principles towards policy-based budget objectives, enhancement of staff within the ministry HR training plan for 2024 and 2025. Following on to the Judicial Affairs Department, we are busy with recruiting staff for critical vacancies and to improve work processes. The Police Force of Sint Maarten 2024 focuses on the recruitment of staff for critical functions, graduation for the BPO or BPO 05, and commencement of BPO 6, enhancement of the ICT system, procurement of the services vehicles, so a fleet replacement is in process, and I do believe that is complemented by CAPEX. CCTV expansion project. We move on to the prison and house of detentions, Madam Chair Lady. Focus points for this year: training of staff, phase 3 and 4, recruitment staff or recruiting of staff for security officer positions, develop multi-annual plan for approach in collaboration with the NRPB and UNOPS, continue with UNOPS phase 1 and commence phase 2 regarding the new prison, expand on the current rehabilitation programs offered to inmates, increase security at MLC and Bay Pay with new baggage scanner. The IBay Pay S, or the Immigration and Border Protection Services, will be focusing for 2024 on developing a training syllabus for Immigration and Border Protection Control staff, recruit staff for the Border Control Division, purchase the RegTech software system, automating IBPS processes for border services, capacity building through the action plan, PVA or ORVG, on strengthening border supervision. And then they seek to forge closer relationships with the immigration departments within the kingdom and region. Madam Chair Lady, I move on to the national detectives. Their focus for this year: training for the employees, recruiting staff for critical vacancies, including the department head, business process registration system, development plan for 2025 and beyond for the critical, upgrades to their ICT system, service mobiles and vehicles, acquire tip line branding and public awareness plan. Moving on to the Customs Department, capacity and team building workshops, integrity training workshops, recruiting staff for critical vacancies, improve management structure, implementation of the ASICUDA system, capacity building through the action plan on strengthening border supervision, and the multidisciplinary approach through the PVA ORVG. I think that is our 2.0 of the ORVG. We would like to give an update as to the plans and the focus points for the FIU or MOT. Recruiting qualified staff for critical vacancies, investments in this ICT platform to improve the effectiveness of the department. The National Risk Assessment, or the NRA, continues. They prepare the NRA and the report for the mutual evaluation for Sint Maarten, so that's connected to the CFATF. And lastly, Madam Chair Lady, through you, providing updates about our Court of Guardianship for 2024. They will develop, improve work processes and practice to enhance staff effectiveness, recruiting staff for critical positions, the completion of changes to the LIOL, UNICEF Recovery and Resiliency Project, YEVEO Work Group focus on prevention of youth delinquency, community awareness programs, and they continue to forge relationships with local and international partners. I move on to mention that we have prioritized a number of legislations that are in the pipeline. I am hoping that the COA, who currently holds and is reviewing the LIOL with some updates we have, I'll speak a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but I'm really hoping we can get those soon. We were also looking at the Code for Criminal Procedure, the APIS legislation and administrative law, as well as the ASICUDA system. The needed changes to the LIO to complete the process. Setting the house right is the key component in improving the employee morale and legal status. The addition of both the Court of Guardianship and the Executive Protection Services to the formal structure of the Ministry of Justice is the last step in this ongoing process. It is my hope, Madam Chair Lady, through you, to present this specific legislation to Parliament prior to my departure. However, in the event that there are delays and this is not possible, my hope is that my successor carries on this work already started. The APIS legislation, on Friday, October 27th, 2023, I was presented with the draft legislation for the Advanced Passenger Information System, acronym APIS, and Passenger Name Record, PNR, by the Young Legal Services. This legislative package is a crucial component of the Automated Border Control, or ABC project, aimed at facilitating a safe and responsible approach to ensure the seamless flow of passengers. The ABC project primarily focuses on processing biometric data, which is being integrated during the airport terminal reconstruction project at Princess Juliana International Airport. The project's implementation is being carried out in collaboration with VisionBox, and it necessitates the reintroduction of newly installed e-gates and an improved passenger border processing system. The need for this legislation was identified back in 2018, but regrettably, it was not given the priority it deserved within the Judicial Department of Justice. I consider this legislation of high importance in my quest to ensure we strengthen our borders to know who travels to and from and through Sint Maarten. As we work with universal security platforms like Interpol, it is imperative to have our border management at a state-of-the-art level. The assignment was given to Mr. Erling Hoover and Ms. Tiffany Glasgow of the Justice Ministry, who received legislative support from Mr. De Jong. Thank you to all of them who have contributed to our progress thus far. And lastly, the implementation of a modern computerized system aimed at simplifying the customs clearance process. This system is called ASICUDA. It is universally known, effectively making it more efficient with faster clearance and cargo. Although allowing us to strengthen for internal controls, improve revenue control, and it will also provide up-to-date, accurate information on trades of goods. There are numerous benefits linked to this program aimed at trade facilitation. The new computerized system will be the cornerstone of the improved performance of the Customs Sint Maarten, the Customs Department. The slated project plan is captured in the capital investment budget of 2024, and further support via the Tewe-O organization is being engaged. This is a critical arm in the commitment towards strengthening border supervision for Sint Maarten. Madam Chair Lady, this brings me to the end of my presentation for today. I await your questions from, the honorable members of Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister of Justice, for your presentation on your ministry's section in the draft budget 2024. And so we continue with the ministers making their presentations, and I invite the Minister of ECYS, Dr. Randa Samuel, to take the floor. Minister Samuel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to you. Good morning to the Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good morning to you and good morning to the Griffier. Good morning to the members of Parliament. Good morning to my colleague ministers, my support staff, and also the support staff for my colleagues, the persons in the Tribune, and all those who are listening by way of whichever medium. Good morning to ECYS. On slide 2, Madam Chair. Yeah, 2. Put it 2. Okay. I have decided to focus on key accomplishments of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, which includes the departments and the divisions of the ministry. First, I will focus on the accomplishments of the departments, Education, Culture, Youth and Sports. Thereafter, I will focus on some of the division accomplishments. I have decided to look at key accomplishments, some of them that are more visible, and I would like to highlight the following. One of the most important achievements of the Department of Education in 2023 was most naturally the presenting of the draft budget on higher education to the Central Committee of Parliament in August 2023. Another important achievement of the Department of Education in 2023 was the finalization of the special needs education policy. Madam Chair, 3 events of major significance took place for the Department of Culture in 2023. One is the Culture Creative Industry Forum, the celebrations around Flag Day, Emancipation Day, and St. Martin Day, and most naturally, the Sage Cultural Award. And then you would see by the following slide, highlights of the 4th Annual Creative Industry Forum. And you can see then by slide 7, observances of the Sint Maarten culture and identity during Flag Day. The display on slide 8 shows Emancipation Day. And on slide 9, you can see the cultural parade that took place in 2023. The following slide also shows St. Martin Day celebrations. And the final, for now, for the culture, you would see the Cultural Sage Awards. On slide 12, for the Department of Youth, various activities were implemented to enhance meaningful youth participation. Children's rights campaigns took place. And in 2023, over 500 students were engaged through presentations, events, and art activities on children's rights. In addition, the Children's Rights Memorandum of Understanding between the islands of the Dutch Kingdom was signed, and this was to extend the cooperation for another 5 years. The Department of Youth will continue promoting children's rights with activities in collaboration with youth stakeholders to develop a children's rights action plan for 2024. Youth collaborative events in 2023. Various youth collaborative events were held. A short film, What If I Told You, was produced, and the official Children's Day celebration was hosted by the leading cast of the short film. In 2024, the youth sector will continue to enhance meaningful youth participation within the community. In regards to meaningful youth participation, MYP, the following: in 2023, an introduction training on meaningful youth participation was developed. The further development of training models will continue and will be launched in 2024 to guide government policy workers on how to include young people in policy development. The following. Various opportunities were provided for the youth to participate in skill building programs in 2023. The Building Outreach Program and Placement, the Business Outreach and Placement Program took place. And in 2023, the Business Outreach and Placement Program placed 130 young people from the ages 16 to 24 to gain work experiences in the program. A noteworthy highlight of the 2023 program is the fact that the Department of Youth accommodated youth with special needs of the Sister Basilia Center for the first time in the history of the BUP program. In 2023, the first phase of a website was developed. The website can be considered a digital extension of the Youth Hub, making it a one-stop shop where youth and the general public can find youth-related information about St. Maarten. We can see by the following slide the 4 finalized research/activity plans that took place, and we also completed the field at Raoul Illich. We also completed the renovation of the pool at Raoul Illich and the deck at Raoul Illich, the pool and deck at Raoul Illich. We also see that the Special Olympics, St. Maarten participated in the Special Olympics in Berlin and the Kingdom Games. I am pleased to inform the public of the purchasing of a boxing ring for St. Maarten because St. Maarten did not have one and always had to use the one from the French side and pay for that use. In public education, Madam Chair, we took a digital leap forward and achieved major enhancements, including implementing Power School for student information management. This system allowed the public school to prepare digital report cards quickly and easily. These reports are accessible via WhatsApp. So previously, all the teachers had to sit and write every report card by hand. Now it is with a press of a button, they can even send it to the parent phone. The public school students today are the beneficiaries of specialized integrated robot education packages designed for special education. The iPal robot assistant provides a customized, engaging, and supported learning environment that has the potential to significantly improve the educational experiences and outcomes for children on the autism spectrum. In our commitment to modernizing the education environments, we've equipped all 140 classrooms across 7 public schools with digital boards and ensure that every teacher received a new laptop. And you can see the difference between the former chalkboard and the new digital equipment that hangs in the school classrooms today. Safety and emergency teams worked in slide 20. Safety and emergency teams worked on standard operating procedures for earthquakes for their schools based on the template they developed. Schools were also trained on how to use this template and were given feedback to the document development. The Student Services Division then moved into phase 2 in 2023 of the SSSD National School Earthquake Drill. And on November 1st, our students dropped, take cover, and held on. In 2023, SSSD also executed sessions with teachers on self-care, stress management, with support of UNICEF Netherlands. Several collaborative projects were executed by National Commission, by St. Maarten National Commission for UNESCO, with various organizations, schools, individuals in the community. We also see the providing of opportunities for civil servants and civil society representatives to participate in regional and international trainings online and in person. This took place under UNESCO. The providing of opportunities for St. Maarten youth to participate in UNESCO International Youth Symposium in Greece and Paris also took place. Here you can see the UNESCO After School Intangible Cultural Heritage Program, which offers sessions in wire bending and also kite making. With the Stichting IQ in the Netherlands, 5 containers with used furniture and other educational materials from the Netherlands was started, and 1 container have already arrived for the Martin Luther King School in Dutch Quarter. 4 containers for the Milton Peters College are scheduled to be here in April. Workshops to enhance reading in the public schools, organized together with the Division of Public Education in collaboration with Stichting Biblionef in the Netherlands for the public schools, primary teachers, and with the Jollyphonics program. All primary schools received the Jollyphonics phonics materials donated by the Stichting Biblionef in the Netherlands. And then you can see, Madam Chair, as that the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports has been very busy executing activities over the year 2023. While this is not all that the ministry has done, we had to make sure highlight some of the highlights of which the ministry was busy. I thank you. And I await any questions from the Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports. And we now go over to the next minister to make his presentation. And I invite Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, Minister Otley, to give his remarks and make his ministry's presentation. Minister Otley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good day to honorable members of Parliament, my colleagues, the support staff, the listening and viewing public. You will notice that the presentation will be quite similar to the one at Central Committee, as we provided all the information that we had. What was spent within the past week. What was done was done. So I would just do an overview on what was presented and I guess enlighten the viewing and listening public. We have the presentation content. We're going to discuss key achievements of 2023, overall comparison between 2024 and 2023, the revenues, the expenses, the policy priorities of 2023, and the highlight in expected expenses. We have some of the key achievements as stated: the one-time increase of minimum wage, the increase of the AOV pension, the draft amendment to the Civil Code, which is at the SED, the draft tax tourist levy, which is at the SED, the hosting of the largest national job fair entrepreneurship program, which hired upwards of 100 persons on the spot, the finalization of reparation legislation for the CPI indexation, the dialogue with key stakeholders for the SAHA, the General Health Insurance or Atley Care, the pilot project that we did with the Ministry of Justice, the one-stop shop, and establishing the GP after our care clinic. Other key achievements were the community development, the basketball lights, rims, backboard projects, the community day where we take members from the department and bring them to the community to register for social aid, financial aid, legal aid, and educate them more on the ministry. The NutriKids Healthy Breakfast School program, we secured financing for the mental health project, the extension of the home repair program where we repaired homes for the vulnerable groups within the community and our seniors. We also did the Smart Tech Healthy program for the seniors, the Smart Tech program for the seniors, the Senior Health Fair, and the Women's Self-Defense classes. Here we have a comparison of the budget with expenses for 2023, the actuals, and the budget for 2024. We see that the expenses for 2023 went from 98,461,918. The actuals was 91,893,820, and we budgeted 100,568,114 for 2024. We realized the incomes are much less. VSI is a ministry of expense, sickness insurance, which we will dive into more often later down. We see the income went from 1.4 million. The actuals in 2023 was 2 million plus, and the budgeted amount we have is 1.4 million. We move to the revenues. We have the fees of 75,000, the actuals of 55,895. We budgeted for 2024 75,000. The miscellaneous from 17 to actuals of 0. So this year we budgeted 0. The work permits went from 1.3. The actuals was 1.9, so we budgeted a 1.3. Through you, Madam Chair, the Honorable MP Lamila De Weaver questioned why didn't we take into account the 1.9, and we explained that this was due to the rapid permit process for major construction project that has a national interest, such as the airport, hospital, and so forth. We do not foresee this rapid procedure going throughout the entire 2024, hence the budget staying the same. Ambulance fees budgeted 40,000, the actuals was 59, and we budgeted 40,000 for 2024. We moved to personnel costs. We went from 12 presumed actuals for 2023 and the budgeted. We had 12,678,728. In 2024, what we have budgeted is 16,095,346. In subsidies, we have the actuals at 1.1 million, budgeted for 2023, 1.5 million, and we kept the same budget for 2024 at 1.5 million. Social Security and Health, here's the majority of our expenses. We had budgeted for 2023, 35.5 million. And in 2024, you see here we have a sum of 36,265,000 budgeted. For goods and services, I'm talking the budgeted amount was 9.3 million. The actual was 4.9, so we budgeted 9.1 million. Bringing the total cost for VSA, the actual was 49,928,292. Budgeted was 60,961,918. And for 2024, we budgeted 63,068,114. For sickness insurance for civil servants, we have 37.5 million that was budgeted in 2023, and that is the same that is budgeted for 2024. So the total budget for 2023, 98,461,918. Budgeted for 2024, 100,561,114. Here we have a graph of the personnel costs, subsidies. We have the Social Security, health insurance, goods and services, and the sickness insurance. Here we have a better diagram that breaks down sickness insurance for civil servants is 37% of our allocated budget. Personnel costs, 16% of our allocated budget. The subsidies, 2%. The Social Security and health insurance, 36%. And goods and services is 9% of our allocated budget. Here are some highlights in the expected expense. We have 1,336,600 for further development implementations of integral social registry system. This system is very important to the ministry. This is where we gather information from the vulnerable groups within the community and use this information to develop policies. Here we have 216,000 for the non-communicable disease action plan. This is actually now moving forward. We have 300,000 to implement a new formation plan and legal position for the ambulance, 200,000 for the Heel Prick project, very essential for newborns and the development of newborns within our community. We have 250,000 for the EPI vaccines. We have 740,000 for the home repair program. As I illustrated earlier, what is the home repair program for the vulnerable groups and our seniors within our community? We have slide 2 of the highlights in expected expenses, 100,000 for the ESF community-based training persons for disaster management and where they should go, what they should do, knowing your shelters. We also have 1.7 million for the transitional shelter program. We have 125,000 for community developed programs, very important as illustrated throughout my tenure. that community development programs are very, very important to our country. It also brings awareness, and a lot of people do not understand what the ministry offers. So this is very important. We have $100,000 for training and awareness campaign program, $59.5 million for civil servant and persons receiving medical aid. We have $5.5 million contribution towards the ZV insurance for persons still insured but unemployed. We have $8.5 million for financial aid. Madam Chair, through you, this is the end of the presentation. I look forward to any questions from the members of Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Otley.
I think so.
And we continue with the presentations by the ministers of the Council of Ministers of Sint Maarten. And I give the floor to the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, Minister Lambrix. Minister, you have the floor.
I don't have the presentation is not up yet. Good morning, Chair Lady. Good morning to the Griffier. Good morning, or good afternoon, sorry, to the Chair Lady. Good afternoon to the Griffier. Good afternoon to the MPs, my fellow colleague ministers, and those listening through social media and in the Tribune. Today I present the budget of 2024 for the Ministry of TIAT. My first slide shows the discussion points, which is the Ministry's strategic objectives of 2024, the draft budget of 2024, the immediate priorities of 2024, an update on the CapEx, challenges and realization, and the conclusion. The Ministry's strategic objectives are to increase the economic growth, provide economic relief, enhance the tourism development, maintain enforcement through the controls and regulations, and promote the info campaigns and services, and the service improvements, sorry. On this slide, we'll see the actual budget of the ministry. So on the first line, it shows the minister's budget, which is 298,663 guilders, material cost 170,400 guilders, for a total of 469,063 guilders. The Cabinet's budget is 926,323 guilders. The total material cost of 255,483 guilders, for a total of 1,181,806. The Staff Bureau, there's a budget for 806,744, a material cost of 150,067 guilders, which equals a total of 956,811 guilders. ETT department is 1,659,640 guilders, a total material cost of 279,400 guilders. They have a total of 1,939,040 guilders. The tourism department is set at 1,725,673 guilders. They have a material cost of 5,070,561 guilders, for a total of 6,796,234. The Economic License Department has a budget for personnel cost of 1,165,639, a total material cost of 113,000 guilders, for a total of 1,278,639 guilders. Stat Department is 1,082,080 guilders. They have a material cost of 8,208 guilders, a total of 2,090,288 guilders. The Inspection Department has a budget of 5,887,547, with material costs of 356,094 guilders, a total of 6,243,641 guilders. Civil Aviation, 2,146,211 guilders. They have a material cost of 411 guilders and 411,000 guilders 860, with a total of 2,558,071 guilders. The meteorological department, which is the last department, has 1,683,872 guilders budgeted for personnel cost. They have a material cost of 271,200, a total of 1,955,072 guilders. We also have subsidies budgeted, which are 1,182,000 guilders, and the total for the Ministry of TIAT is set at 26,650,665 guilders. Immediate priorities for 2024 are we have key policy areas that we need to realize and we have to push, which are stimulating key sectors in the orange and green and blue economies. So within agriculture, culinary arts, fashion, music, yachting, and maritime industry. Facilitating trade and investment through the Investment Promotion Agency and regional agreements that attract and foster investments in key sectors all year round. So looking more at having a full year season rather than seasonal. Stakeholder consultation and engagement through the roundtable discussions to address and develop an agreed upon plan of approach for these sectors and the way forward. Residential economic policy, the revision and the update of that is very much necessary. This controls what is allowed and what is not allowed within zones, so the economic and urban planning and externalities, such as noise pollution, sound pollution, light pollution even, within the residential areas, within commercial areas, making sure that we zone them. The beach and vending policies also needs a revision and update. Updating the policy will consider the following areas: environmental conservation, beach access and safety for residents and visitors, protected areas that can also be attractions, vending regulations and requirements, assessment of assisting vendors and their impacts, updating the permitting process and the conditions, and addressing enforcement and compliance issues. Public transportation policy, to determine the degree of the policy changes present to full public transportation system, a need for the predictability of the public transportation, a need for the routes, so to have proper coverage within the areas to make sure that we have everyone covered that's waiting on public transportation and all the districts covered. A need for the establishment of standards, so minimum standards, what is allowed, what is not allowed. Enforcing them is the main thing so that we have no inadequate public transportation on the roads, basically. Enforcement of the policy changes. Then we have the National Energy and Climate Policy. Energy security, assessing the need to diversify the energy generation with alternative means. Environmental concerns, realizing the effects of climate change to our region and the next steps. Regulatory body, establishing of a legal structure to enforce, monitor, and report. International commitments, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and transition to low-carbon economy. Here we have a little breakdown of the economic growth and development activities and initiatives set for 2024. We have the support of the agriculture and schools via subsidies, closer cooperation with the friend side, explore subsidies, assistance for agricultural business, farmers market in Phillipsburg, and the agricultural add the agriculture department structure to the TIAT ministry. So to ensure that we have someone fully focused on the agricultural and the development of it. The MSME development, finalize the subsidy to Sint Maarten Entrepreneurship Development Center, support to go local monthly events, evaluate and if necessary continue to support of the Backstreet Bonanza and the Cope Avond events. Diversification, engage in roundtable discussions with key stakeholders, finalize economic impact study for the maritime, develop a POA to execute the required realization and true diversification, focus on niche markets for tourism, especially based on the trends. Investment climate, hire a project manager to execute measures as approved in the POA, establish an IPA, facilitate discussions and processes with interested investors, identify investment shows worth attending, and to make the necessary preparations. Update Invest website and bring under our control. Last is the job creation, attracting new industries, example, the IT sector, financial sector, the blue sector, light manufacturing, and expanding the tourism industry to sports tourism, ecotourism with the STB and the ECYS ministry. Our next slide shows us the expanding on our research, marketing and digital strategy. Social and digital marketing, engage local content creators. OTA campaigns, continue partnership with Expedia and launching of new partnership with Travel Spike and Hopper. B2B strategies, engagement with trade shows, travel agent programs, webinars to build the brand recognition and increase destination visibility and awareness. So as an example, the SMART, the CHTA Marketplace, Destination Sint Maarten in Canada, the Destination Sint Maarten in Europe, the Vanguard B2B in New York event, and the Destination event in New York. Website development, public relations. We need to extend our contracts with the PR firms in the US and Canada and Europe to continue hosting media and fam trips. Onboard local PR firm, Embrace, for promotion in Latin America and Caribbean. Ambassador programs and local influencers, such as we have the Zilla Duzon New York Fashion Week, the DJ BB Bad Bianca Dijkhoff, so local talents, Casey Carty, Renata De Weaver, also local. Authentic promotional local ambassadors can share personal stories, experiences, and insights that resonate more deeply with the potential tourists compared to the traditional advertising. Their genuine recommendation and cultural insights can offer more authentic and enticing view of Sint Maarten. Targeted marketing. Ambassadors living abroad can help targeting marketing efforts more effectively. They understand both the culture and the destination they're promoting, and the culture of potential tourists, allowing for a more tailored and relevant marketing strategy. Here we have the diversifying tourism through the orange and blue economies. The following will also assist in addressing seasonality by ensuring we have activities throughout the full year. The Twice the Caribbean campaign ensures that the following is advertised. Develop cultural experiences via art, fashion, and food by promoting these experiences accessible to the visitors via tours. Promote the culinary experiences, such as the SXM Lagoon Fest at Port of Plaisance, the Chef Cook-Off Q1, the Appetizer Week Q1, the Appetizer Week Q2, and this SXM Flavors Q4. To attend the culinary events internationally. Initiatives for sports tourism that attracts heads in beds, and throughout the year via group and individual sports tournaments hosted locally. As an example, the basketball, paddleball, baseball, softball tournaments. The blue economy, partnerships for sailing and yacht events with promotion of ocean partnership activities. As an example, the CMC Multi-Hull Challenge, the Heineken Regatta, the Monaco Yacht Show in partnership, the Florida Boat Show, which is also in partnership with Anguilla and Sint Maarten and Sint Bart's. Product development on the next slide is to improve Phillipsburg, the beautification with signs and mural and tree projects, improve the road and border signs and infrastructure through the CAPEX, attend various conferences such as airline routes, the CLIA Cruise Travel Agents Conference, the Sea Trade, the PAMAC, the Airline Conference for Sint Maarten and its airline partners to discuss airlift strategies. Tourism awareness, so within the schools and local community, airline development to increase airlift, and cruise line development to create more berths and calls to Sint Maarten. Enforcement plans of 2024, capacity building, so further updating sinking policy creation with implementation, especially enforcement policy, automating and digitizing data collection to create a single source of truth, review and enforcement tools to ensure legal enforceability, training and of professional development, hiring of staff. Control and supervision on the public transportation, the fair enforcement, the service rules, information campaign, maximum pricing, lottery point of sale permits. So not just the lottery booths, but also certain establishments that sell lottery tickets that they would have to have a special permit to do so. Economic activity, the compliance, purpose, permit conditions, policy, maritime oversight inspections, the port state of control on foreign vessels, and coastal state of control, environmental protection. The service improvement and information management. In the aviation sector, we have the International Civil Aviation Organization, the ICAO, audit preparation, the training of civil aviation staff, finalize the harmonization of the ANS regulations, finalize digital database, the E-Authority, comply with the new 2.1 and 2.11 model regulations, Annex 168, finalize the AIG handbook, Annex 13, and the ICAO compliance work plan 2023 to 2026. The maritime section, the flag state, Netherlands, international state port safety, so the ISPS committee meetings, the IMSAS audit. This has been completed and is awaiting the CAP review. Meet the industry stakeholders to discuss industry developments. Digital processes, the Dell inspection control request and feedback system, the Dell and CA and SM advice request and response system in Bliss, introduction of the LESG Refinitiv, the World Check One tool, final payment letters via Bliss, monthly management reports via Bliss, online applications, and the reintroduction of Dell invoicing in 2025. Economic Vision Conference under the engagement media, tourism symposiums, communication plan for the ministry, statistics website. Under data, we have the labor force survey, the CPI, the tourist exit survey, the national accounts, the household budget survey, the economic census, and economic indicators. An overview of the capital expense and projects. We have the marketplace, which is at 606,420 guilders from the CapEx. This project is basically finalized and ready to start now with the building. The new MDS SMC A building at $9.5 million. This is right now, the plans for the building are completed. The airport is busy with designating a property, so assigning where this building can be put, and then transferring that property over to the to that department so that they can proceed and start with their building. The intellectual property in the tourism, so the branding and promotional materials, video development, media library for specific niche markets, which cover sailing, carnival, cultural events, weddings that we have here, honeymoons. That is at $2.5 million from the CapEx. This is, one second. For this, we have contracted the Big Ideas. We have some other branding and marketing agencies. The idea behind this is that we have one central database. If anyone is looking for images of the island or specific promotions to do that, we have all of those images properly filtered and at a certain level that it's a proper image to put out there for our country to be displayed as. The tourism product development and improvements. We have 2.4 million guilders. And we have also the 6 replacement vehicles for the economic controllers. That has been tendered out. Bids have been received. I believe that the facilities department is busy going through that right now to finalize. Projects that have the interest of the ministry are the Harold Jack project. This is also part of the possibility from the CapEx. We have not gotten 100% completed with that yet, but we are having talks. We have designed some plans, and this is some of the plans that are there. The same with the continuation of the CapEx funds For Mullet Bay was mentioned, which are for the bathrooms, which can be seen in the pictures. We then have challenges for the department, financial challenges and bureaucracy to be effective and competitive, shifting of the priorities with constant change of ministers, human resource challenges, leaving and hiring, legal basis and our capacity alongside the technical support, limited budget room for new policies and projects, key policy matters are controversial. Conclusion, there is a need for the stakeholder consultation through roundtable discussions, a need to discuss the critical policy matters and crossroads and challenges. Budget 2025 preparations are already taking place with synchronization of the 2024. The career fair in the Netherlands, opportunity to replace critical staff. Incoming government will decide on their way forward and priorities. Establish of the independent authorities in 2024 and 2025. And this comes to the end of my budget presentation. I look forward to any questions by the MPs. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Lambrix, for your presentation on behalf of the Ministry of TIAT in the draft budget 2024. And now we will have a presentation on behalf of the Ministry of VROMI, so the Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure Ministry, which will be done by the Acting Minister of VROMI, Minister Irion. Minister Irion, I give you the floor to present VROMI's, or to make VROMI's presentation for the draft budget 2024. Minister Irion, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Khafir. Good afternoon to the members of Parliament, my colleagues, and the viewing public. Today I'll give a brief presentation on the Ministry of VROMI. We go through the table of contents, which will be the achievements 2023, the projects that were executed, the vision on housing, the department objectives, priorities, and the statistics, the budget 2024, the overall comparison, revenue, capital investments, and lastly, closing remarks. The key achievements in 2023 were the over-the-bank pedestrian bridge, the continuation of the car wreck removal project, which we are now also continuing to focus on working with the Ministry of Justice on holding persons accountable for the car wrecks. That's also it was also a requirement by the Ministry of Finance that we don't just continue to pay for cars, but also hold persons accountable for leaving the car wrecks abandoned. The former government building demolition, obviously that's something that has been there since the hurricane that was demolished. And now we are going to partially house the market vendors there, and we're also looking at expanding to allow possibly some of the justice workers to park there until a building is built. The approval of the Little Key Nature Park, another key achievement in terms of our vision, in terms of preserving our natural habitats where possible. Resurfacing of St. Peter's basketball court, the release of the new building code for the island, and the trainings that came with the building code, and the continuous explanation to the public and information sessions that are planned for 2024 when it comes to new building code. That's going to continue in 2024. The joint island cleanup with the front side, continued cost-cutting measures with the wastewater treatment plant, finalizing the underground cabling project, the resurfacing of the Bush Road and Union Road, which were major resurfacing projects, and the hard surfacing road project we started in 2023. The finalization of the solid waste vision for 2050, up until 2050, and the integrity and first aid trainings for all the VROMI staff. For the CapEx highlights, these are some of the, this is the hard surfacing project. This is the latest update on some roads that are being prepared for. So we already did a few roads already, Nazareth Drive, some roads in St. Peter's, and these are the next in line for next, in a couple coming weeks. In 2024, we have 8.6 million gills budgeted to continue the hard surfacing program. When it comes to housing, we have, in collaboration with the trust fund, 500 plus homes repaired through the ERP1 program, 160 private homes repaired, and ongoing 20 more homes to be repaired, 301 social homes, and the completion of the Belvedere Towers, which was 64 units. And continuing that, we did the shelter upgrade and repairs program. And upcoming, there's an upcoming project for housing project in Hope Estate with the trust fund, which we fought for in last year, which is valued at 20 million guilders. The housing vision for VROMI is to continue to stimulate, promote home ownership through public and private sector, to create a sustainable, safe, affordable, and attractive neighborhoods that cater to persons with stable or joint income, actively approach residents and landowners and implement a proper infrastructure, strengthen the institutional capacity of VROMI, develop a housing policy, and finalize the performance agreement with the Housing Foundation. When we look at the Department of Inspection, we see that 280 building inspections were executed, 30 domain inspections, 473 electrical inspections, 292 complaints were dealt with, for a total of 1,076 inspections executed. The total revenue, 71,000. Also in the Ministry of VROMI, when we look at inspections, we are looking at dealing with the policy and legislation. It's something that discussions between the Ministry of Finance and VROMI, that it can be, I want to use the word fair, it can be logical that a one-bedroom house is inspected the same way as a 200 condo building, right? The costs are relatively the same. So we have to look, but the works to carry out, the staff work is a lot more. So one of the discussions for the Ministry of Finance was we have to look at these policies and legislation that has equal weight on certain inspections. The department objectives, the goal of the inspection department for 2024 is to focus on controls in the environment and the building spectrum. With the regulatory resources, the inspection department will be able to improve enforcement in the area of environment and building controls, resulting in fines and corrective measures being enforced and executed. Department of Permits, when we look at the year 2021, we see a significant increase every year. The year 2023, almost 4 times the amount as 2021 in terms of permit fees collected. And when it comes to Department of Permits, we look at the further digitalization of the online inspection application process, further reduction of the processing time, training in new building code, and the registration for architects and engineers. I'd also like to say, in general, for the Ministry of VROMI, we're looking at formation changes to reflect 2020, to reflect the modern day time. When we look at the department's formations, we need new positions, but also more positions to execute the growing economy of Sint Maarten. Looking at the policy department, we have the implementation of the building codes, as was previously mentioned, the training of staff, external and internal, the ordinance on the LVV, the roadmap, and also for the identifying projects areas. Yeah, still is a key was identified. These are highlights for the policy department. The Department of New Works, ongoing projects for 2024, finalizing the plans for the implementation of the wastewater treatment plant in KB, the completion of the Dutch Quarter sewage upgrade project, upgrading of the Prince Bernard Bridge, the replacement of the stormwater pumps, expansion of the sewage network, the replacement of all damaged guardrails on the island. There's also another area that the Ministry of Finance was very critical on working with the Ministry of Justice and VROMI on if cars damage guardrails or if vehicles damage any public goods, those persons should be held accountable for, at the very least, partially paying for the cost of these rails. It can't be that government continues to pay for all damaged guardrails and the persons doing the damage, or the insurance companies are not held accountable for this. The upgrading of the Foga Swiss connection and the side roads concrete project, which is well underway. The Department of Domain Affairs, we see that between 2021 and 2023, an increase of almost 2.5 billion guilders has happened, and this is specifically due to the task force that was established between the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of VROMI. This task force was tasked to mainly go back and look at all the backlogs of the domain, starting with the highest outstanding, and this task force has continued in 2024, is continuing in 2024. The task force also deals with any legal matters when it comes to domain issues. The 2023 department objectives, they will continue to strengthen the department with continued hiring of personnel and the implementation of the online processes and procedures, which was launched in Q4. Infrastructure management continued the road surfacing program, improved the concept development for roads, assessment of infrastructure, collaborated with the private sector, developed the framework for which authority is in the final stages. And the ambitions amid the budget constraints were the street name signage, directional signage, and the road markings. For budget 2024, these are some of the figures, what were budgeted versus the actuals. The expenses per economic category, the personnel expenses in budget for 2023 is very similar to the budget 2024. As I mentioned, we are at pretty much capacity when it comes to FTEs in the ministry. We have hired now some critical, on the final stages actually of hiring some critical vacancies. That took a little longer than expected, but in general, we are at capacity when it comes to FTEs, so we do need a formation change in the Ministry of VROMI, again, to match our economic growth and construction. The capital investment for 2024, the main roads are at 5 million guilders, the hard surfacing at 4 million, expansion of the sewage network, 18 million guilders, the wastewater treatment plant at 17 million guilders, and the purchase of vehicles, including a vessel, at 232. The vehicles 232, the vessel 213,000 guilders, and the purchasing of land for center, sewage, cemetery and drainage for 18 million guilders. Opportunities within the Ministry of Brummy for 2024 would be establishing of the road fund, the review of the departments and tasks via the SRB, and continue training and courses for the staff. Madam Chair, that's the end of the presentation for Brummy.
Thank you, Minister Irian, for your presentation on behalf of the Ministry of Vromi. And before I go over to the next minister and the last minister in this part of the meeting, I will adjourn for 5 minutes. 5 minutes? Yes, I'll adjourn for actually 12 minutes. So I'll restart the meeting at 1 p.m. Meeting adjourned until 1 p.m. Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and welcome back after a brief adjournment to get some matters regulated in order to allow our last minister for this afternoon in the first segment of the public meeting handling the draft budget 2024. The last speaker from the Council of Ministers in this context is the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Minister Silveria Jacobs. Minister, you have the floor to proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to the members, my fellow members here in the Council of Ministers, the honorable members of Parliament, also my colleagues, the Secretaries General, members of all support staff supporting us during this process, and of course, a hearty good afternoon to the ladies and gentlemen, the people of St. Maarten, listening and viewing through the various media. A blessed good afternoon to all, and of course, a blessed Holy Week as well. I would also like to extend, Madam Chair, through you at this moment, condolences to the family of Ms. Janet, also of Helena Richardson, who is laid to rest today, and for whom hopefully we can pay our last respects, and all those others suffering still from the loss of a loved one, and those who are suffering through various illnesses. Our hearts go out to you and our prayers for a full recovery as well. We would also like to extend congratulations to Mrs. Richardson, whose 100-year celebration we were able to take part in. And of course, I would like to, Madam Chair, ask for efficiency purposes. I don't know how the others experience it, but when we were making our report from the Central Committee meeting, when we noted that members of Parliament asked questions that were not necessarily for the particular minister that it ended up under, that in the final report, those questions would be reflected within the ministry that it belongs in. So that is also one of the reasons it took so long to transcribe the answers into the nota naar aanleiding van het verslag, based on the formatting being completely different. So hopefully we can synchronize that a little better moving forward for efficiency purposes. Madam Chair, every year we go through this exercise of a budget approval. However, I'd like to highlight, especially for the listening and viewing public, that a budget serves a purpose as a compass guiding our nation's aspiration and delineating the path towards our collective goals amidst the backdrop of available human, so the people, and financial, the money, resources. So people and money, that's what our budget is talking about and how we're using it to better serve the people of St. Maarten. It is but one element in the whole financial cycle that is crucial for the overall financial standing of St. Maarten. For us to obtain and continue to utilize the option of capital expenditures in the future, we must continue to stay up to date with our internal financial reporting and approval of annual financial reports. As stewards of the public trust, we must continue to make the impossible possible by striking a balance between the needs of the country and the operational and financial capacities available. Acknowledging the economic challenges that confront us, Madam Chair, compounded by the ongoing global trends over which we have little control, such as wars in Ukraine, Palestine, high fuel prices, and the like, even though we are very much affected by them, not to mention the budgetary flexibility that is needed to weather the next unprecedented circumstance or disaster. Our budget deliberations, therefore, must be marked by a sense of urgency and resolve. Beyond the numbers and the spreadsheets, Madam Chair, it is imperative to remember that our budget is fundamentally about improving the lives of our citizens. Their welfare and prosperity are at the heart of these deliberations, underscoring the gravity of our decisions and the importance of judicious resource allocation. In the spirit of responsibility and collaboration, we must be prepared to make difficult choices and prioritize the pressing needs of our nation. Let us draw upon our collective ingenuity and resilience, recognizing that even in adversity, there exist opportunities for innovation and progress, as has been proven after the passing of hurricanes and pandemic. Our paramount objective in this debate, therefore, must be to enhance the well-being of our citizens, foster economic growth, and fortify the foundations for our nation, for the benefit of future generations. So now I focus on the Ministry of General Affairs. The total (2024) budget of the Ministry of General Affairs is $82,296,601 guilders, which is 14% above. Sorry, Madam Chair, I skipped over to the other slide. The Ministry of General Affairs is considered the driver of government, which is responsible for national development, internal operational development, and external representation of Sint Maarten. The ministry's objective and core tasks contribute to this responsibility. The total budget for 2024, as was presented in Central Committee, is $82,296,601 guilders, an increase of about 1.54% of last year's. Over the years, the personnel department did not have sufficient budget to provide training to the organization. This ministry's priority is to ensure that the civil servants are adequately trained, and therefore we've prioritized training. And also, not just for the ministry, but across the board for all ministries, including in communication, middle management, project management, the HR cycle, team building, policy writing, advice writing, legislative writing, and data analysis. With these training courses, the Department of Personnel will strive to fill the gap in skills needed in the organization, as well as ensure that strategic recruitment takes place within the ministry and other ministries as well, supporting the other ministries in that. These also form of the B measures within our reform measures. As far as revenue is concerned, Madam Chair, members of Parliament, that has increased by 36.74% compared to 2023. However, civil registry only registered at 2.5 million in revenue, only 70% of the budgeted amount. Therefore, we saw a decrease in that area by 2.3 million. Additionally, as you can see on the slide, and which was presented before, we can see that now the total of 2024 is 5.1 million as compared to 6.3 million, which was explained in Central Committee. Other revenues budgeted from funds related to ongoing reform projects, which are 1.8 million, were 1.8 billion in 23, will be increased to 2 million in 2024. The Department of Interior and Kingdom Relations also have applied to RESEMBID for several projects, such as the single-use plastic reduction project, the early warning systems, the Office of Disaster Management, and we've also secured funding for projects such as CORENA, which is the Coastal Reef Assessment. Let me make sure I'm saying it properly. Coastal Resilience Needs Assessment through the Ministry of ROMI, and ongoing projects such as CARILEC and FRCM under the Department of BAC through EU funds. Under slide 4, we see the expenses per economic category as compared to 2023, with an overall increase of 1%. Personnel budget has increased by 4%, needed to be able to address the increase that we want to give to our civil servants. Very, very important in the passing of this budget. The goods and services budget also remained the same, and we know that our goods and services support building rentals, electricity, water, communication, cleaning, office supplies, building and vehicle insurance, as well as maintenance of our vehicle fleet. In balancing this budget, we have utilized our own budget to facilitate policy priorities as mentioned before, and subsidies were decreased by about 1%. Capital investments in 2024, we budgeted for $1,750,000 for over 3 years for the entire government organization to be fully digitalized. We are in that process via the DGTP process of the trust fund, as well as through assistance with reforms, human resources, etc., via the TWO, but also through our own capital expenditures for the necessary hard and software, as well as training that will need to take place. Our vehicles also need to be replaced. All of this was mentioned already in Central Committee, as well as the marriage hall and the parking lot, which is slated for improvements in 2025. The parking lot, that is. The full renovation of the parking lot. So the improvements with the boom is what you see there for the $450,000. That will be for 2024. And in 25, we hope to be able to revamp the entire area as government of St. Maarten. Now, if the members would permit me, Madam Chair, through you, during the Central Committee, I was asked by one of the members what I would hope the incoming government would take along. What would be the priorities? I've given it some thought, Madam Chair, and would like to impart the following. The main thing that we would like to convey is continued progress. Continued progress for the people of St. Maarten. Without it, any advancements achieved thus far would risk regression, a fate that not only fundamentally undermines the people of St. Maarten, but would be a grave injustice to our dedicated civil servants who have been working tirelessly throughout the years to bring us to where we are today, from which I am and we are extremely grateful. As we reflect on continued progress, Madam Chair, let us keep them in mind, everyone, for their time, effort, push, and the pressure they have endured from navigating from one challenging situation to the next, from one task to the other. In the beginning of this tenure, during the long recovery after Irma, and straight into another disaster, the pandemic, we consciously reintroduced this catchphrase, resilience. I've heard many people say, I'm tired of hearing that term, or they don't want to be resilient. They are tired. But honestly, Madam Chair, members of Parliament, people of St. Maarten, there is no other term that better encapsulates the many hurdles this country and her people have had to overcome. Throughout the challenges we face, clarity of vision has been the ultimate guiding light, offering direction and purpose for the people to continue to unite. When I assumed the mantle of leadership, Madam Chair, I envisioned St. Maarten as a place where every citizen could realize their dreams, where they could live, work, play, create, and find genuine happiness. Some said it was a little fluffy, but guess what? When we think it, when we work towards it, it can be achieved. Serving as, and I was overjoyed to see that my vision fits seamlessly into the National Development Vision. Not something I created, but something I met there and decided to take along. Serving as the blueprint for the future we sought to rebuild, a future that reflects our shared aspirations, hopes, and dreams. As St. Maarten, all of us can take pride in. I am fully aware that the new government already has a manifesto in place. However, it is important, vitally important, Madam Chair, members of Parliament, to continue with the progress that has already been made and to ensure that this profound vision that you bring to the country is one that can and should be executed under the National Development Vision. For those of you who are wondering why we are fixated on this, and it's not just me, it's the organization that is pushing for this. I'd like to remind the members that the NDV, the National Development Vision, is a result of inclusive dialogues held in this St. Maarten community based on the diagnosis of our current state and the potential of our economy and our people. And in fact, took along all the governing programs from 2010 up until present. It reflects our future while being strongly aware of our past, our current challenges, and strengthened by wisdom and lessons learned. It serves as a guide, Madam Chair, for our sustainable social and economic development, while addressing the obstacles for change and identifying the necessary reforms essential for success. It is grounded in the Sustainable Development Goals. The NDV is not a national development plan. It does not present detailed strategies or actions, but rather outlines our shared visionary goals, principles, strategic priority areas, and preconditions that will enable and guide all development efforts and decision-making. As such, the process is already underway to write the reform measures in the light of our NDV, which should result in the same national development plan. So it is being worked on already. Therefore, as a new incoming government, your continued commitment to the realization of the National Development Plan in collaboration with the support of the UNDP is vital for its success. There are several initiatives ongoing in this regard, and this will tie in more to the plans that we have. Continued stability and progress for an economy that is stable and, dare I say, also prosperous is an area that the incoming government can appreciate and capitalize on. It will be the motor for our continued progress and success. A clear plan for economic development will better showcase the projects underway within the trust fund and structural reforms. That is why what the NRPB is doing for us, the execution of the projects outlined, are so crucial. We are in the implementation stage of many crucial projects, as well as seeing the delivery of some projects, which is a sign that we are indeed making progress, such as the handover of the Belvedere projects, the furnishing of the fire and ambulance departments with up-to-date equipment, and continuing to maintain and improve on our ability to manage disasters. I can also mention that the ERP1, including the additional financing, will continue through December of 2025. The hospital resiliency will go until the end of this year. The emergency debris management project will go until December 2026. The enterprise support project, the ESP, which we know has benefited so many St. Maarten people and businesses, will continue until December 2028, therefore continuing to give individual business people the opportunity to finance their small businesses. That is continued progress. We will see the civil society partnerships also ending in June of 2024. The Child Resiliency and Protection Project, including the PPG, going until also July 2024. The DGTP, the very important digitalization of government, will continue until 2025, next year, May, and the Fostering Resilience Learning until also 2025. Mental health until 2027, and the Red Cross project we know ended in 2020. So while some projects have ended, many are ongoing, so we hope that this will see the priorities of the incoming government as well. We look forward to continued progress for economic stability, and dare I say, I think I said that already, proper representation, advocacy, and continued success in this area is also crucial. This is an aspect that people underestimate, but will make a difference when achieving the vision. St. Maarten did not exist alone in this world, and we do not exist alone in this world. We need to build and continue to build on alliances. Networking and growing our regional and international presence are very necessary for any country, but especially for a tiny island nation like St. Maarten, if we want to regain our position as the Caribbean gem, or even to be able to address our status on a geopolitical platform. A concrete strategy surrounding our regional and international presence is an area that can be further developed, maintaining and enhancing collaboration with our northern counterparts, right here on Swaliga cannot be stressed enough. Our shared history and future can only benefit from continued collaboration and cooperation. In this context, Madam Chair, one's reputation and character are crucial. Merely holding a title won't guarantee you a seat at the table. It might secure an invitation, but ultimately it's your character and how you represent yourself, and by extension, our country, that truly matters. Being perceived as honest and trustworthy paves the way for productive discussions and genuine agreements, and we have many of those on the table. Even in these challenging negotiations, when met with challenging negotiations where leverage is limited, your character will be what determines how far we get as St. Maarten. For continued progress, we need to ensure to continue to empower our high-functioning civil servants and create a safe and productive workspace for persons tasked with the execution of all these plans and projects. We must build their confidence and continue to grow our civil service. The organization will continue to need your attention. This will improve productivity and increase efficiencies, which can only improve government's image as an employer. And as we're currently out there doing heavy recruiting, this is timely needed so that we can retain them once we get them. We're offering more training now, we're upgrading, we're creating more mobility and opportunities to grow and develop. This must continue, and this has been on the back burner for way too long. With the financial legroom now available, it is important to prioritize our employees. Show them that we care. One way is the salary increases that we've already discussed, which will be cemented with this budget. And I implore the incoming government to continue the necessary dialogue with unions and legislators to ensure further adjustments of salaries is realized with the adjustment of the salary scales. All this was not something that we could have financially targeted at the time. With the current positive economic outlook, this budget and subsequent projected increase in revenue expected in addition to the internal improvements of our HR system will ensure that we can continue to assess and improve the salaries of civil servants as a tool for empowerment. This will also positively impact the market and the private sector, seeing that the needed data has been collected recently to ensure that remuneration is more in keeping with the reality of our cost of living here on St. Maarten, especially within the service industries that we rely heavily upon for our largest economic pillar. Besides improvement in the salaries, which legislation should soon reach to Parliament to be approved, it is important to know that based on the recent passing of our beloved Justice in 2023, that it sparked my need to start to address some of the areas that were highlighted by our civil servants needing a more amicable working space and taking and responding to their needs. As a result, I initiated the work group to implement mental health awareness and education sessions to give our workers tips and resources to help them deal with work in a stressful environment. We also implemented Positive Fridays, sharing positive quotes in a circle of positivity, and held sessions with psychologists as well as social workers, giving sessions on how to cope, as well as learning new habits to enhance their mental health, create a positive outlook when going about their tasks. These have been seen as very key actions that government is taking that have been neglected for quite a long time. They are tied to the results of the employees' satisfaction survey that was done, so also tied in with the recommendations from the reforms. And it is imperative that this working group of employees continue to promote, assess, and monitor the improvements in this regard so that it can be properly finalized. It is imperative for continued progress to allow this initiative to be carried out by the Secretary General of COM, the social worker that is at P&O, as well as those members of the Employee Consultation Committee who are giving their support. So it's not a top-down, it is a collaborative effort up and down the chain of command. With this presentation, Madam Chair, It is my goal to present ways in which I can best possibly lay out a path to success for this incoming government, with hope that we can see the incoming government, that the task we are about to realize and undertake must materialize. The budget that we now possess allows for continued progress. It gives you the room to be able to do that, and the execution of the actions necessary to take the island to the next step forward in the realization of our NDV. To conclude, during this presentation, in my introductory remarks, I reiterated to the public and you, the members of Parliament, that our national development vision is ours and that we need to establish that NDP now, the plan. This plan will include how the ongoing and planned projects contribute to the overall sustainable development of Sint Maarten and our people. I cannot emphasize enough, Madam Chair, members of Parliament, the need to continue the process to ensure structural and sustainable progress for the people of Sint Maarten. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to address you at this stage, and we look forward to the further discussions and debates on this topic. Madam Chair, with your permission, I'd like to express condolences also to our colleague, Minister Samuel, on the passing of his aunt, who just passed away at 101 years of age. Our sincere condolences to him and the rest of his family, and we thank Sint Maarten for your trust as well over the past few years to be able to govern this country. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Prime Minister and Minister for General Affairs, Ms. Silvera Jacobs, for your presentation. I join you immediately in expressing on behalf of Parliament condolences to our Minister, Minister Samuel, with his loss at this time, the loss of his aunt. We are thankful, and I'm sure along with the family, for her long life, and again wish the Minister and his family condolences on behalf of the Parliament of Sint Maarten. Members of Parliament, members of the Council of Ministers, we have reached at the final presenter of the introductions of the different ministries to the, or in the draft budget 2024. We are going to adjourn here. This is a late lunch adjournment, and it will be for 1 hour, returning at 2:45, 2:45. So with that, I wish you all a pleasant lunch, and I hereby adjourn this meeting until 2:45. Meeting adjourned.